Okay, I want to talk about exorcisms.
Well, too
All
bad.
right.
It's Vandy's turn to talk.
How many of you have seen Exorcisms?
Define exorcism.
Casting
Define
a
scene.
spirit or a demon out of someone.
Yes.
C.
Okay, then all three of us have.
Not in the Catholic sense,
Yeah,
though.
not in the Catholic sense.
Like in
This
the
is a-
Protestant sense.
and not
Yes.
in the movies.
This is
Yeah.
a question I do have for both of you. Why is it always in the movies they call for the Catholic priest?
Well, because Catholicism is very popular within the U.S. still.
I think it's just because they
And-
have the cool little
In the
Dress.
movies,
jacket thing.
it's because in the movies, in pop culture, the Catholic version of exorcism is well known.
Yes.
The version that we know is true and
Yeah,
real.
the burning them at the stake part.
Grabbing a stake and stabbing them in the heart and then burning them doesn't play well. The grabbing snakes doesn't play well. So they use the Catholic. No, it's because that's what's in the brain of the culture is the Catholic. So
it's
no,
so
no one
ingrained.
would really understand if it was literally just a normal looking dude in normal clothes. It's just like, I'm gonna go put my hands on you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Say
Wait.
Christ is Lord.
Christ is Lord.
So this is in 1949 in Maryland. There's a young boy who, to this day,
Isn't young anymore.
No, he's not. He is gone, for sure. But
Where'd he go?
Scientists, priests, especially Catholic priests, and even the government for a while studied the case like crazy because, by all accounts, this is considered like irrefutable evidence that this is spiritual. So, like we talked about earlier, we already know the CIA was doing some nefarious things with, spirits and trying to summon and all that. So it's been studied, and even in the Catholic churches today, it's a case that is studied by the priests, talked about, discussed, and so on and so forth. But in 1949, this kid, he goes home, and it's just a regular.
Don't mind me.
It's just a regular day for this kid. His name is Robbie. It's the name that everybody has.
Was it short for Robert?
No. But this is a real kid, real family, real documented results by not only law enforcement, but also the churches and universities.
Bet.
So, it's all on the up and up. This kid, he had an aunt who was very big into spiritualism, always looking into voodoo stuff, palm reading, that sort of spiritual stuff. And she also introduced this boy to a Ouija board.
Oh, no.
Have y'all ever seen one in real life?
I've seen them on the store shelf.
Have y'all ever bought one?
Nope.
No.
Dude.
I stole it.
We had this guy in our church, and in Barnes and Noble, they used to sell Ouija boards. He bought 10 of them
Why?
because he didn't want anybody else to have them.
No, so he
I knew a
bought it.
guy. I knew a guy that did that with. I was on the job, and we had a bunch of wine bottles, and we were told it was a serving job, and we were told to dump out all the ones that were opened. And so he just started popping the cork off of unopened bottles of wine,
Yeah.
and just pouring them down the drain.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm preventing people from getting drunk."
Wow.
And he's just pouring it down the drain. I said, no.
It's already paid for. They're gonna make more.
You're not. You're just getting the sewer gators drunk.
Give me those
I
back.
almost said swamp gators. Sewer gators.
I was so mad at the guy because
Because you wanted to drink it.
yes, no.
Communion.
I was like, that makes
True.
no sense, dude. It's like this stupid.
So the aunt introduces this kid to all this stuff. The family thinks it's like, oh, it's whatever. She just does her thing because, she tries the spiritualism.
She's the weird one.
Yeah, and nothing ever happens to her, so whatever.
Crazy cat lady, probably.
She ends up passing away, and then shortly after she passes away,
In her will, she says, "My demons go to."
No.
Says that.
So she passes away, and a short time after, the kid wakes up in the middle of the night, and he hears scratching on the walls. And so what does he do? He goes to his parents' room, and he's like, there's something in the wall. Maybe it's a mice or something, whatever. And they're like, okay, go back to sleep. We'll check it out in the morning. He goes back to sleep. He can't sleep all night. He still hears scratching. Then after a little while, it gets worse, where he's like, no, there's something scratching, and I can't figure it out. So the parents say, we're going to get a pest control person out here.
Bet.
They do. When they do that, the guy goes around, he sprays, he does all his stuff. It doesn't go away. Then one night he wakes up and he goes to his parents' room and he says, hey, something's scratching under the floors now. So they're like, okay, it must be something with the pipes. Don't know why they went to that, but they got a plumber. Plumber came out. He was like, everything looks good. Nothing's clogged. Nothing's rattling.
Pipes aren't scratching your floor. Sorry.
And then he says one night that his mattress began to vibrate and shake really bad.
Been there.
Obviously, he runs out of his room, and when he gets to his parents' room, he's like, my bed is moving on its own. They're like, okay, now you're just messing with us. You're going above and beyond, just doing too much. They go in. All the furniture in the room is rearranged. Like, no way this kid could move his dresser, the bed.
I've been there before.
You have.
Yes, you have, bro.
I have the vibrating mattress. You have the furniture moving.
Yep.
Together, we're both possessed.
So the parents are like, okay, this is not normal. Either you did this or something really bad is happening. After that, the whole family begins to notice the same stuff. Weird scratching at night. It's always at night. Hearing things creak that shouldn't be creaking. They hear faucets running that shouldn't be running. They come home from outings and furniture is rearranged, and they're like, okay, what is going on? One of the weird ones was they said that they heard thunder and they thought a storm was happening, so they go outside to check it at night, and there's no thunder. There's nothing going on, but the neighbors said, yeah, we thought something dropped in your house like heavy, because it sounded like a big rumble. So that's another thing that happened.
Odd.
The parents thought they were all going crazy, so they consulted with psychiatric professionals. They also went to a reverend in the Lutheran church. Don't know why. Maybe that's just where they went to church. His name was Miles Scholes, who he himself observed a bunch of unusual behavior when he went over to the house. He told them, and this is what gets me, he's a Lutheran pastor, right? He says, go get the Catholic Church.
Wow.
See, I don't want no part of this.
If anything tells me I'm not going to trust them for my soul is when he says, no, go get the Catholics.
No thanks.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, we'll go to the Catholics. They end up going to the Catholic priest, who was a man named Father Albert Hughes. And he decides that this is clearly a demon that is in the house. He goes into the house. They tell him, okay, it started in our son's room. He goes into the room with the boy, And before his very eyes and his, I don't know what they call him in the Catholic faith, the assistant pastor,
Okay.
how
Bishop?
His shadow.
yeah, his apprentice or whatever in training. They both see that the kid is sitting on his bed and literal marks begin to appear on him as if he has been scratched or whipped. So they're like, we need to do an exorcism because clearly a demon is in here. We need to cast it out of the house. And if it's on anybody, we need to cast it out of them. So they go ahead, they start getting everything ready. And as the kid is laying on the bed, the box spring of the bed just shatters in the bed.
Like all the springs just go out.
No, like, you know how you have a box spring, which is basically a wooden.
Yeah. The wood around there shatters.
Yeah, it just like breaks
Okay.
as if something really heavy was sitting on it.
Was the
And-
kid fat?
No.
Sorry.
Yes.
They did exorcist after exorcist, and it did nothing but make the kid go into like this,
Exorcism after exorcism.
yeah, exorcism after exorcism. The kid's health starts to deteriorate, and for some reason, they kept staying in the house. I wouldn't stay in that house if that was happening, and I wouldn't tell the kid to stay in his room.
Well, if it's in today's market,
It wasn't. This was back when houses were like 50 cents.
well, yeah, I know.
This
I
is
don't-
when
I don't-
you,
this is
this
right
is
after
when you
the
could own a
war.
house and be homeless.
In the 40s, right?
Yeah.
1940, what was it? 1940?
49.
49.
The 49ers.
Yeah.
So things get really, really bad. The kid's health deteriorates. In March of 1949, the mother and the boy decide that they got to get out of the house.
I gotta go.
I got to go.
The father. I gotta stay.
I got to stay. So they decide to travel to St. Louis and stay with relatives. This is where St. Louis University comes into the picture, because there is a ton of writing out there in the St. Louis University about this case, because they literally studied the kid, trying to figure out, how you have academics and scientists saying, no, this is we can all explain it by science. Obviously not.
It's electromagnetism coursing through him.
So they called a Jesuit priest.
Not Catholic.
Catholic didn't work, obviously.
Lutheran ain't gonna work.
He didn't even try. He is like,
Not-
oh, good, guys. His name was Raymond Bishop. Great name for a preacher. And his colleague, Father William Bodern. On March 16th, they get permission. I don't know why, but they get permission from the Roman Catholic Church to perform an exorcism. I don't know why they needed permission.
Because once the Catholics try, they own that demon. So
Oh, okay. So they literally have printed documentation of it at the university, saying like they got it in writing that they could do this. This is where things get a little bit worse. They try to do exorcisms for days
Golly.
on this kid because the kid is physically deteriorating really bad. Like he's starting to get gray hair and he's like 8 or 9. It's bad.
So was the kid himself possessed?
That's the conclusion that they came to.
Or was it the demon oppressing?
I think the kid got possessed at some point because the kid starts telling the preachers what they have done in their whole life before
Okay. Well, yeah.
he could even be born. I mean, he don't even know these people. Like he's telling them every sin that they've done, all the things that they're going to go through in hell and all kinds of weird, crazy stuff. They do this for literally days and nothing is getting better. And according to the two priests, they saw the kid physically levitate off of a bed while he was being restrained and nearly pick the bed up.
While he picking the bed up,
Like he was
while
tied
he
to
was
the bed.
levitating. Yeah.
They brought in stuff like holy objects, holy water, crosses, relics, different things. And the kid would speak in Latin, he would speak in Greek, and he would speak in Hebrew.
Yeah.
And just all kinds of craziness.
What do you say?
Like he was telling them what they had done
In
in
Hebrew?
their life. Yeah. Like in different languages that the kid would never know.
How'd they know what he was saying?
I guess they had somebody translate afterwards, or they wrote it down. But night after night, this goes to the point where they're like, okay, obviously our rituals aren't doing anything. So they try this thing called a Roman ritual, which is literally basically laying a cross on the kid.
Literally get him and nail him to a cross,
Like they laid it on the kid,
hang him there for 3 days,
and they
then-
said that the wood deteriorated.
"Oof,
I was like, oh, okay.
gotta use better wood."
Got to use some ironwood.
So the final breaking point of it all was on April 18th, 1949, the day after Easter.
Wow, they didn't try on Easter.
Yeah, they did. They did exorcisms from March to April,
Nice.
like every single day. After Easter, the apparent end of the possession happened, and the boy repeatedly said, "He's gone. He's gone. Like, he's out of me."
Yeah.
And from that point on, the kid started getting better in his health. And the bishop wrote down that he checked in on the boy, and there had been no further indications of the devil's presence after 11 p.m. on that night. And he continued to check up on him for years after that. So, by all accounts, this was one of the most closely documented cases of possession that is still used in courts today for why people do certain things. You can technically argue that you are possessed, or your lawyer can. But it started a whole stir more in recent times.
What if you're in court and they say you're possessed and they're like, "Prove it," and then you just start floating?
He possessed. Lock him up.
Enough said.
Case closed.
Your Honor.
You can go.
or I say, "Prove it," and they just start saying like, "You had an affair last Tuesday."
Oh.
What did he say? That'd be so funny though.
And it'd be like, the judge is like, no, I didn't. And he's like, yeah, you did. It's just back and forth and just like,
Yeah.
prove it. It just goes through this circle over and over again.
So that was the end of his story. But in more recent times, everybody knows this movie, The Exorcist. That movie is based on that kid.
You know, I was going to say that, but in the movie, it's a girl.
Yeah, it's very loosely based.
Trans.
Shut up.
Everything's woke these days.
But it is wild how much Hollywood fantasizes over that stuff.
I think the reason why they used a girl is because visually
Yeah.
it's more unsettling to see a little girl than
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's more unsettling to see a child. It's more unsettling to see a girl.
Yeah. This is the part that I don't understand is, and I don't know no, screw it. I'm going to say it.
Do you want me to
I
cut it out
don't-
potentially?
No,
Okay.
I don't believe a lot of people have the full truth with scripture. But why and how could they have power over the demons unless it's just using the name of Christ, of Jesus?
Yeah, you yourself don't have any power.
Well, yeah.
Because, for example,
I don't know. Jesus does say, I'll give you power.
yeah, but for example,
That power is not your power.
the
No,
the
you're acting
three
in it.
the three men that were going around preaching in
Skiva.
yeah, and they came across a possessed man, or was it a woman? They came across a possessed person, and
Yeah.
that person, the demon manifested and beat the men to a pulp
Well, that's
and stripped them naked, and they
That's-
ran out of there naked.
the point he's making.
Yeah,
But flip side, the disciples said, "Hey, there's guys over there that are casting out demons and stuff in your name." And Jesus is like, "Okay, that's
let
cool.
them
Yeah.
be.
That's cool."
Yeah, let them be.
I don't know. It's just weird.
My question in regard to that is like, holy water's bogus.
Clearly, yes.
But so
That's why it didn't work.
so like that's the part where it's like they're not relying on the correct thing. So how do they?
That's probably why it took so long. I mean,
Well, also, Jesus says this demon does not come out by prayer
Prayer and
alone,
fasting.
but prayer and fasting.
yeah. I guess certain demons require certain methods because obviously that scripture basically says, yeah, some of them come out by prayer. Some of them don't.
Yeah.
But I think that kid is probably or was scarred for life after dealing with all that.
Yeah, I don't.
That's one thing that I hate is to see a kid deal with that stuff because most times they didn't have anything to really do with it. If it was an adult, they probably knew what they were doing.
Or maybe they didn't know, but they still
Yeah.
entertained the things and let it in.
Yeah, but it's like a kid is so helpless. And it sucks.
Yeah, I don't know all the technical biblical reasons why a child would be possessed. I don't know. Some
Yeah.
would. There might be an argument based off of the sins of the father, right?
Right.
Well,
I think there's generational possession.
I don't think it has anything to do with that necessarily. Because, like, I don't know when to keep this in or cut it because, like, it's real talk, but it's also, like, I don't know. But when stuff happens in church and there's someone who's demon possessed or sometimes not even possessed, but oppressed, and so church is praying for them, very often they would say kids go to the back. And I don't know, I'm sure
Yeah.
you remember growing up, you and Victoria would have
Yeah.
to go to the back when stuff like that was happening. And the whole point was like, we don't want them around because
Yeah.
when the spirit leaves, it
It
goes
could go
somewhere. So I think most likely with this kid, it's like you've been around your aunt who clearly has been
Yeah.
into these things. And I'm not saying she was possessed and when she died, she was no longer possessed. And so it kept moved
Right.
to him. It could have moved to him before she died.
Right.
But being around her, who had all this influence around her, being exposed to it, it just latched on.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, one of the other things that I want you guys, or I guess we can all do this, but you said demon possessed and oppressed. I think for people listening, we should clear that up as to what those are. Obviously, possession is like you're being hijacked, like Max Headroom.
Yeah, that's when you're talking and like saying stuff you have no reason to know,
Right.
you shouldn't know. The voice changes or you speak in
A lot
other,
of accounts is that the person gains unnatural strength.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have unnatural strength.
Yeah.
Like there was a case when I was a kid in not before we moved here, before we were going to church here. So I was really little, but there is this kid, probably 4 or 5 years old, who was, there's no way the dude wasn't demon possessed.
Yeah.
He when he had his fits, 5 grown men could not keep him down.
Yeah.
He was fighting them off and winning handily.
Yeah. I think
So,
demon oppression is where you're basically having to face it down a demon, or it's doing things to bring you down.
It's influencing your decisions, not
Right.
necessarily as telling you what to do, but kind of steering you in certain ways.
Outside in.
And yeah,
and you can be kind of paralyzed, sometimes in an actual, real physical sense, paralyzed, or you could be like unable
night
to
terror.
move
Sleep
past,
paralysis.
right? Like you're stuck.
Yeah.
Like you said, like you'll be constantly every night or regularly,
Facing down things.
but it can when you're oppressed, it can have physical symptoms such as being paralyzed, but usually it's
Yeah, and that's another reason why.
but it's things happening to you, not you doing things.
Right.
Yeah. That's another reason why a lot of there are some biblical accounts of Jesus exorcising demons, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
From kids that had ailments, and they were sick and they did have diseases, but obviously that doesn't mean that every disease that somebody has means that they're possessed.
Right.
It was just in those certain cases that the demon itself was deteriorating the body and causing it to be sick and diseased. So
It's a very deep subject.
yeah, we could have a whole podcast on this.